Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Ryan O'Neill.
And we're live on our Newsmaker line with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Mayor Buckley, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on this hot July morning, Brian.
Yeah, did you notice how hot it got around you yesterday? Did you get any temperature checks yesterday?
Oh, well into the 90s the past couple of days, and we expect it to be in the 90s again today. So, if you're out there working outdoors or getting exercise, limit your time out there. Make sure you're hydrated. Find some shade, and take some precautions and don't overheat.
Yeah. Hey, John. I was wondering, the Independence Day festivities, can you give us a sense of how things are going to go on July 4th?
Well, we're going to start the parade as we usually do. We're going to start it at right over on Genesee Street at the bank, Steuben Trust, and we'll line up around 11:30, and the parade will actually start at noon. So the parade will start there and come down Seneca, and we'll take a left-hand turn onto Main Street and go all the way to the East Main Street Bridge, and that's where we'll wrap the parade up. From there, everyone flows down to James Street Park. We've got a lot of vendors down there. Hornell Partners for Growth is putting that on once again this year. There'll be lots of food, games, drinks, lots of activities for the kids. And then we top it off with the fireworks in the evening that the city puts on. So it's going to be a busy day. Again, the 4th of July itself is supposed to be really warm, so I urge everyone to stay hydrated. Hit those swimming pools as much as you can. We've got the pool down at James Street. That'll be open. The kiddie pool, we actually, the kiddie pool broke down last week, but that'll be up and running tomorrow. So we had some internal parts break on it, and we had to have the professional come in and replace those. So that'll be up and running tomorrow, so we'll be at full strength, and we expect it to get a lot of use.
And what do we have going on as far as Hornell Industrial Development Agency news, Mayor Buckley?
Well, last week the IDA met, and and a couple different things. Railhead Brewery, they're looking to expand, and the former New Life Printers building that's been empty for quite some time, they're actually looking at that. What Railhead wants to do is expand their operations. Currently, they make a lot of their brews in house, and the craft beer business is booming, not just locally and regionally, but really everywhere. And it's really taking off, and what they want to do is ramp up their production, and to do that they need a larger facility or more facilities. And what they're trying to do is not just serve on site, but get into restaurants and get into bars, not just in the area, but try to expand their reach. So the IDA, what we're considering doing is helping out by purchasing the old New Life Printers building and leasing that to Railhead. Now, the IDA has done that numerous times before, where they'll step in and purchase a building, and then they'll lease it for a period of years, and it's usually either on a pilot or a lease-to-own type situation, which leads me into the next project that we're actually working on, the old TTA building on Bank Street. Some years ago, after TTA moved out of there into their new location, the IDA took that building over, and Am Extra has been working out of there for some years now. And what Am Extra does is Am Extra is like a highly specialized business. They deal with wire business, so the spools that the wire's wrapped on, and this is industrial wire. So they specialize in that, and they're actually, you wouldn't know it just by driving by, but they're actually a global company sitting right down there on Bank Street. They do business in China and all over the world. And it was interesting as we toured the building last week, and it's a very old building, and But what they've done to the interior of the building is amazing. They've basically renovated probably, I'd say, 60-70% of the building, and they're continuing to expand inside. They've got a handful of full-time employees. They're looking to double that and triple that in the coming years. So they're in a growth mode, and the IDA is trying to help them out. So basically, what we're doing is considering. Or actually, we voted on giving them the building, and we had a 10-year pilot plan for. They were paying $10,000 a year, but that $10,000 a year would go back into the building for maintenance and repairs and that sort of thing. So the IDA wasn't really making any money; it was just kind of reinvesting. So we decided. Because they're in such a growth mode right now, just to hand the building over to them and let them really take off.
Drove by the new St. James Hospital construction the other day, and looks like things are really coming along.
Yeah, it's amazing when you drive by up there how quickly that's coming together. The new hospital itself, the medical village. It's just every time I go up there, I slow down and I'm kind of looking over that way, and then a car behind me might beep at me to kind of get me out of my daze, and it's hard not to stare at it after that plaza being empty for so many years. I remember. And you remember too, Brian, when we were younger, and it used to be a vibrant plaza. You had Wegmans on one end, you had Kmart anchoring the other, you had Faze up there, the old Italian Villa, and a handful of others up there. There was a lot of traffic in and out of that plaza, and then it sat empty for a long, long time. So it's really nice to see that that life infused into it again, and we're going to have a state-of-the-art medical facility up there. I know just everyone is super excited for that to happen, and we're getting closer, and another year away.
We're talking with the Hornell Mayor John Buckley. What's the latest with Alstom, Mayor Buckley?
Well, Alstom continues to ramp up. They're in transition right now. They're wrapping up a couple contracts and still getting ready for that Amtrak contract. If you drive over by the old Sunset building, you'll notice all the work that's being done over there to accommodate that mile-long test track. They're putting in that bridge that goes over the river there. No small feat. I know personally, what it takes to put a bridge in and how much it costs. I can't even imagine how much it would cost to put a bridge in to accommodate trains. So I know the price must jump up exponentially for something like that. But they're making the investment. There's talk about putting up a building down in the South Yards. It's a great time to be an Alstom employee. Great time to live in the city. So much vibrancy. So many different things going on. Really, when you look at Alstom and the hospital, and then you look at the housing developments that are going up with Reedman and Bassett, and I'm even in negotiations with a developer with the old courthouse that. Sits next to the intermediate school, and we're trying to get something going with that building that's been sitting there empty. And talks have been progressing over the last couple of months, and I hope to have that developer in there sometime by the end of the year, and get something going there. So there's a lot happening.
We're talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. Now, the last time I talked with Hornell Police Chief Ted Murray, and not trying to trick you here, he didn't want the names out yet. But Mayor Buckley's, Chief Murray said that there was going to be a couple of Hornell police officers sworn in soon, and he said that they had a new officer, and this was the last time I talked about maybe a week or so ago, and that was Officer Emo. So looks like things are going well at the police department, John.
Well, we've had some retirements this year, and we're still we have another one coming up in the fall. So we have a very young police department, and we're getting younger. But we've got a lot of great young officers. I'm very excited for the police department. They do such great work, and underappreciated a lot of times, I think. And as a matter of fact, just last week, your reporter Bill Dugan was there and covered we we did the employee spotlight, and we shined the employee spotlight on investigator Tom Ianni for all the great work that he's done and continues to do for the city of Hornell. And you know, I made it a top priority of mine when I came into office to really crack down on drugs, and not just crack down on drugs, but really send a strong message to those who are looking to sell drugs or profiteer off the backs of others by doing so. And Tom Ianni has really been the tip of the spear on the war on drugs in the city of Hornell, and he along with the other officers have done an outstanding job, and they continue to do so.
We're talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. The fire department, how are things going over there these days?
Well, there haven't been too many fires, so that's a good thing. But the ambulances, they're out and about all the time. Those guys do incredible work. There's no one out there that you'd want knocking on your door or showing up when something goes wrong. I mean, those are the guys. They are just trained professionals. Frank Brzezowski, I don't know that he ever takes a day off. He's just going all the time. The difference between our fire department and a lot of other fire departments is not only are we full time and professional, which all departments are professional, but our fire department is unique in that we provide ambulance service. A lot of other places that have a fire department and an ambulance service, a lot of times they're separate and they're not one and the same. Our guys can do both. So that means you could literally be responding to a fire on the back of a fire truck 1 hour, and then a few hours down the road you could be on an ambulance responding to a heart attack or a car accident or something of that nature. So our guys can do both. It's really having two jobs in one, which makes us very unique in the city of Hornell, and very fortunate to have those guys, honestly.
How about DPW and the streets, Department of Public Works, and the streets and the repaving plans for this summer? How are things coming there?
Well, things have been going very quickly this year, and you drive down Main Street and Seneca Street, and those streets are already done and been done for about a month. They were actually done finished a month ahead of schedule, which is absolutely amazing. They usually when the contractors come in and they built in a little extra time for rain and unforeseen problems. We didn't really have any of that. It's been fairly dry, and they just zipped right through those streets. And they were done a full month ahead of time. Now we've got some more coming up. We've got probably the biggest one is the parking lot behind Stearns and the Hare Zoo across from the Moose. That parking lot has been in dire need of an upgrade for a long time. Unfortunately, we wanted to do it last year, couldn't get to it. We're going to get to it probably sometime in between August and September. We're going to mill it all up, do some leveling over there, and then we'll put down some fresh blacktop. So we'll get that all buttoned up. We do have a handful of side streets, throughout the summer and into the fall that we'll get to some of the shorter stretches. So it's coming along. We've got people don't realize how many miles of street we have, but if you count going in both directions, we have 82 miles of streets in Hornell to pave, and that's a lot when you really think about it. And living in the Northeast, obviously you have to contend with potholes, and we have the long winters, and this winter it seemed like it was never going to end, and then we transitioned basically from winter, and I think we might have had a week of spring and then right into summer. But the DPW they've been cranking along, because when these companies come in and pave these streets, the DPW has to go in and raise the DIs and the manhole covers to match the height of the street. So there's a lot of work, a lot of pressure on those guys to follow the schedule of the contractors. So they do a great job, and in all sorts of weather, whether it's 10 below zero and they're out fixing a broken water main, or 95-degree heat like we're going to see today. Those guys are out there in the elements, doing hard work. So hats off to them.
And we're on the line live this morning with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. We've talked local in this segment. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk national issues with the mayor. Stay with us.
Selecting a nursing home for a loved one isn't easy until you've discovered Hornell Gardens Nursing and Rehabilitation. Hornell Gardens delivers the highest level of care, compassion, and commitment with amenities and activities that will enrich body, mind, and spirit. It's a place that's close to home. Stop in for a tour of Hornell Gardens, located at 434 Monroe Avenue in Hornell, or to learn more, call 585-222-CARE or visit hurlbutcare.com.
And now connecting with meteorologist Rob Kellen. Rob, it was 100 degrees in Wellsville. I think it was 95 when I talked to somebody yesterday afternoon in Arkport. Pretty darn hot. What do we got for today?
Well, we backed the temperatures off a couple of degrees today, Brian, but nothing dramatic. We still have quite a bit of hot weather ahead of us. Big high-pressure system in the upper parts of the atmosphere that was out over the central United States, producing heat the last couple of weeks, shifted into the eastern United States, pushing temperatures well above normal, and that system is still locked in place. It's going to gradually weaken as we head through this week, and I foresee cooler temperatures by the time we get into Friday, but that is a long way off, Brian. Heat advisory in effect for the region till 10 p.m. Sunrise this morning was at 5:38. It'll set tonight at 8:51. Abundant sunshine, but the threat of a late-day storm. Temperatures, they're going to make their way up to 90 to 95, but it will feel warmer than that. Tonight, we may see a brief thunderstorm. Otherwise, we're 65 to 70 overnight under partly cloudy skies. Partial sun tomorrow. There's the threat of a late-day storm. We're 85 to 90. Tomorrow night, any storms end, lows near 70. Wednesday, the 4th of July, Brian, looks partly sunny with temperatures near 90, and we're in the 80s to near 90 on Thursday as well.
Back with Hornell Mayor John Buckley on our Newsmaker show. Well, lots of news out of the Supreme Court last week. Justice Anthony Kennedy announces his retirement. They're saying this morning that President Trump will announce the appointee a week from today. Then you had that Supreme Court ruling, the Janus ruling on unions. Mayor Buckley, did you want to weigh in on any of that?
Yeah, it was a very interesting week last week coming out of the Supreme Court, and I think everyone will be interested to see who Trump puts up for the nomination. I think going back to Judge Bork all those years ago, that really changed the dynamic as far as nominating the Supreme Court nominee as it relates to the hearings in the Senate, because I think largely prior to that, if the pick that the president put up there was qualified and had the background and I think they pretty much sailed through. There might have been a couple token opposition votes here or there, but ever since Judge Bork, I think it's become highly politicized and polarized in the process, and you always see senators from on both sides. You see senators grandstanding and this and that, because it's not just about the Supreme Court nominee. A lot of times in these hearings it becomes about the senators, and they try to steal the limelight and put it on themselves, but and it's too bad. I think when you're talking about a Supreme Court justice, you shouldn't look at it from a conservative or liberal standpoint. You should be looking for a constitutionalist, and that is someone that can follow the Constitution and follow the law and apply it evenly. It's when you get these activist judges that they're shooting from the hip and making it up as they go along. That's where we get into trouble. And I have faith in the president picking highly qualified jurist, just as he did a year ago with Justice Gorsuch, and but it'll be interesting, and not just the pick itself, but the process and the timeline with the midterms coming up. So it won't be a boring summer as it typically can be in August. So
right, and the left's reaction to this. I'm looking at the Daily Beast headline: Anthony Kennedy, you are a total disgrace to America. That's their headline this morning on the Daily Beast, and that kind of sums up how a lot on the left are reacting.
Well, civility is really is really lost anymore. Whether it's these left-wing activists or the media. There's just no civility anymore. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's hard to even have a conversation about issues anymore without people just really hunkering down and getting angry. It used to be you could have a discussion with someone and you could agree to disagree and kind of just carry on, but anymore I've seen people lose friendships over politics, and and my question is why. Is losing a friendship over politics, is politics more important than your friendship? At the end of the day, we're all Americans. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, Green Party, whether independent, no matter what your beliefs are, we're all Americans. We're all neighbors. We all live here. Why can't we just agree to disagree and move on? I think there's a lot of people out there that are still they kind of look at this and get disgusted and they get turned off and put off by it, and I don't blame them, because it's just it's all the time, and we've always had political dissent in this country, going back from to day one. But I think the difference now has to do with the 24-hour news cycle. It's just constant. It's never ending. It's just all these commentators and pundits constantly harping from one side or the other. Frankly, a lot of people say well, President Trump is responsible for the negative culture, but that goes back years. And I remember Bill Clinton when he was in office, and I remember just really the culture just kind of taking that negative downturn, and I think it's just continually gotten worse, through Clinton, definitely through the Bush years and the Obama years, and now Trump. I think a lot of people that are crying about Trump, really when you really examine it, they'd be doing that anyway if it were any other Republican. It's just that Trump likes to needle them and really get them going, and so it's kind of exasperated. he just kind of makes it worse. But I think he actually enjoys doing it, though. So that's not my style, but it seems to work for him. But don't let him fool you. The open borders crowd. When they're talking about, banning ICE or, getting rid of ICE, these are the people that put their lives on the line to protect our borders. And, they stop a lot of drug trafficking, not just on the southern border, but, it doesn't get talked about. But even on the northern border, there's a lot of drug trafficking up there that, ICE puts a stop to. And so, there's a lot goes on. And, I would just urge everyone just to, just take a deep breath every once in a while. Take a deep breath, look around, look at all the good things that are happening, and try not to get too tangled up or snarled in the Washington D.C. Politics.
You know who actually said something about that years ago, and this was when Bill Clinton was president. It was Rush Limbaugh, and it was a great line. He said, "Don't let Washington who's in control affect your happiness." And he talked about that. He said there's some people that feel that they're just going to be miserable, and they'll allow themselves to be miserable until their guy gets into the Oval Office. He said, don't be like that.
That is true, and I remember when President Obama was in office, there were certain conservatives that were basically miserable for 8 years, and vice versa with Trump. And it's really not worth it. You shouldn't let whoever is the president or whoever is your congressman or your senator, that shouldn't affect your happiness. That shouldn't affect your day-to-day life. That shouldn't affect your mood when you go to work or when you go home and see your family. Just be happy you have a job. Be happy that you have a family, and enjoy that time with them. Enjoy spending time with your friends and neighbors. And if you can't talk about politics, just don't talk about politics. Leave that to the politicians. Heck, I'm a political figure, and I try not to talk about politics a lot of times. With you it's different, obviously, Brian, but it's what we do on the radio. But.
Well, I hope you talk about politics when you're on here, John. We are out of time, Mayor Buckley. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and have a great 4th.
Yes, happy Independence Day, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.